I should have yelled too.
Why don't we walk this off, sir?
Oh.
When a golf movie about caddies and a revenge-driven gopher somehow became one of the most quoted comedies of all time. Directed by Harold Ramis and released by Orion Pictures in 1980, Caddyshack follows the crashing world of misfits, old money, and questionable groundskeeping at the fancy Bushwood Country Club. Chevy Chase plays the naturally cool Ty Webb. Rodney Dangerfield is the loud, zero-respect troublemaker Al Cervic. Ted Knight is the always angry Judge Smiles, and Bill Murray is Carl Spackler, the only groundskeeper in movie history who declared war on wildlife and made it sound philosophical. But what started as a coming-of-age story about teenage caddies turned into a wild free-for-all that critics rejected and audiences, including myself, never stopped quoting. Today, we're going to count down 15 weird facts about Caddyshack. Stay tuned for number 15 because the movie that you've been quoting for 40 years was barely written, and the story of how it was made is much wilder than anything you see on screen. But before you pull out that 9-iron, remember to like, subscribe, and while you're at it, ring that bell. It lets YouTube know that you want more deep dives into your favorite movies and TV shows. All right, grab that grass whip and let's head off to Bushwood. Number 1. Bill Murray and Chevy Chase had a real-life fist fight years before filming. Now, 2 years before Caddyshack, Bill Murray and Chevy Chase got into a real physical fist fight backstage at Saturday Night Live. It was February 18th of 1978 in John Belushi's dressing room just minutes before airtime.
All of a sudden,
Bill Murray?
Bill Murray gets into a fight with Chevy Chase. Chevy was kind of being overbearing.
Now, Chase had left SNL at the peak of its early fame to chase Hollywood stardom. Murray was brought in as his replacement. Resentment slowly built up on both sides, like a pot that nobody wanted to stir, but everybody kept bumping into. When Chase came back to guest host, the atmosphere backstage just became radioactive. Insults started flying. Murray reportedly called Chase a medium talent, and then Chase fired back with personal jokes about how Murray looked. And then it moved past words. Belushi had to physically pull them apart so the live show could actually happen, which is the kind of pre-show crisis that can age a producer like 10 years and 40 seconds. Then, fast forward to Caddyshack. Because of their history, Carl Spackler and Ty Webb had 0 shared scenes in the original script.
Carl, can I have a drop? Just a drop. Myself.
The two characters existed in completely separate worlds, probably on purpose and possibly for safety reasons. But during production, director Harold Ramis realized that you can't put 2 comedy stars in the same movie and never let them interact. That's like owning 2 chainsaws and using them as bookends. The now famous shack scene, where Ty's golf ball crashes into Carl's messy living space, was written specially to bring the 2 together. The 3 of them came up with a loose idea over lunch and then filmed it that same afternoon. And whatever bad feelings remained from 1978, you can't see them. The scene feels alive. Bill Murray's Carl Spackler offers Ty his best mystery substance, and then Chevy Chase's Ty looks around at the mess with the calm curiosity of a man who has never been uncomfortable a single day in his life. But by the end of it, these 2 were trading lines like they were simply old friends, declaring themselves buddies for life.
Just talk or just, get weird with somebody. Buddies for life, I think.
I'll drop by. You drop by my place anytime.
And the strange thing is, it actually feels deserved. 2 guys who could not be in the same room 2 years earlier created one of the most naturally funny scenes in the whole film. Number 2. The final explosion was so big that it was reported as a plane crash. So the final explosion at the end of Caddyshack was supposed to be like a comedic punchline. But it almost became an FAA incident. So the movie was filmed at what is now Grand Oaks Golf Club, and the course sat directly in the flight path of Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. So when the special effects team set off the 18th hole finale, they were not blowing up a set in some faraway desert. They were sending a fireball into the Florida sky right where incoming commercial planes could see it. According to reports, a pilot flying in saw the huge explosion and rising smoke and quickly radioed in what he believed was a plane crash on the ground. Air traffic control received the call, local authorities were notified, and for a short, very real moment, People outside the production believed that there had been a real disaster. But of course, it was just a gopher revenge plan that got out of control. The country club owners, quite understandably, did not want their real 18th green destroyed, so the production built a huge fake dirt mound especially for the blast. Then, the pyrotechnics team got a little too excited. The explosion completely destroyed the fake hill and created a fireball much bigger than anyone had planned. And in maybe the most Caddyshack detail of all, Bill Murray's brother, John Murray, was reportedly given the very serious job of watching the sky and warning director Harold Ramis about incoming planes so it wouldn't ruin a take. A man standing on a golf course, staring at the clouds and yelling about airplanes. That's a job description only this production could create. Number 3. The movie was originally a straight teen coming-of-age story. Before Caddyshack became a comedy-filled demolition derby, it was meant to have real feelings about teenagers. Brian Doyle-Murray, Harold Ramis, and Douglas Kenney originally created the script as a grounded coming-of-age story focused on caddies. Danny Noon, played by Michael O'Keefe, and Tony Annunzio, played by Scott Colombro, went through summer jobs in the social food chain at Bushwood Country Club. The story was based a lot on the Murray brothers' real-life experiences caddying at Indian Hill Club in Illinois. Even Danny's scholarship subplot came from real life. The Murray brothers' older brother, Ed, actually won a Chick Evans caddy scholarship.
What kind of grades do I need for this caddy scholarship deal?
Well, if you've been a good caddy, I think they're kind of lenient.
Making the stakes in the script personal, even before a single camera started rolling. This was meant to be personal. A little serious, a bit rebellious too, but still structured. And the adults, Ty Webb, Al Cervic, and Carl Spackler, were supposed to be colorful side characters. They added satirical background flavor to a bigger story about teenage ambition and carrying rich people's golf bags to earn scholarship money.
You know we're giving another caddy scholarship this year?
Yes, I heard something about that, sir, but my grades in high school weren't actually that outstanding.
There are more important things than grades.
And Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, and Bill Murray began taking over. Dangerfield and Murray, constantly at full volume and energy, left no chance for the script to survive. A big romantic subplot between Danny and Maggie was cut down to almost nothing. The caddies, who were supposed to be the main focus of the film, slowly became supporting characters in their own story. By the time filming ended, this coming-of-age tale about summer jobs and scholarship dreams had been completely overtaken by the comedy chaos around it. The teenagers didn't ruin the movie just turned into something nobody had planned. Number 4. The set was described as total chaos, fueled by Bolivian confidence, if you know what I mean. With filming happening at the golf course, by most reports, it worked less like a movie set and more like a 6-week spring break that someone accidentally pointed cameras at.
Music is a violation of my personal privacy. He's breaking the law. Really?
Cast and crew later admitted that the production was a non-stop party. Drugs were everywhere, sleep was optional, and the script, or whatever was left of it, was ranked somewhere below fancy sunglasses on the daily priority list. Harold Ramis was technically directing, but directing this cast in this environment was like trying to referee a food fight with a clipboard. Co-writer and producer Douglas Kenney was reportedly at the center of the chaos. His growing relationship with Bolivian party favors during filming added to the wild energy on set. A loose, barely controlled vibe that directly affected the movie's tone. It also started a personal downward spiral for him that ended tragically not long after the film came out.
Hey, you guys are brothers, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, what is this, a family business or what? You know, they say for Italians, this is skilled labor, you know that?
The comedians, however, thrived in the chaos. Murray's riffs, Chase's charm, and Dangerfield fired off punchlines like they were still performing at a Catskills nightclub. Reportedly, Dangerfield was amazed that a camera could hear him without a microphone. He just kept projecting to the back row that didn't exist. Not everyone found it charming, though, but more on that later in the countdown. That barely controlled environment gave Caddyshack a raw, unpredictable edge. Today, creating something like that would need 3 HR departments and a whole documentary series to explain. Number 5. The gopher cost $500,000 and it wasn't even in the script. The most disciplined performer in Caddyshack had hydraulic ears. The gopher was in the original script, but only a little.
I want you to kill every gopher on the course. Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers...
One scene, a pest problem for the groundskeeper. But after filming ended, the producers watched the assembled cut and realized the movie had lots of laughs, but nothing really tying them together. Their solution was to take that one rodent scene and turn it into the movie's main connecting thread, complete with a custom-built animatronic puppet, underground tunnel sequences, and of course that smirk that cost more than some of the actors. The gopher itself reportedly cost about $5,000 to build, reasonable for a furry prop with attitude. But when you add the reshoots, the underground tunnel scenes, and the effects work, the total cost grew to roughly $500,000.
Come to Carl, Carmen. Come to Carl. Okay.
In 1980 money. And that's the kind of expense that makes a studio accountant's eyes twitch faster than a gopher's ears. And this wasn't just some backyard sock puppet project. The effects were done by a team connected to John Dykstra, the Oscar-winning wizard who created visual effects for Star Wars, the same creative team behind lightsabers and the Death Star trench run. Well, now those skills were used on a dancing rodent causing chaos at a fictional country club. The whole thing was a post-production rescue mission designed to introduce a character.
Menace to the golfing industry. You're a disgrace, and your varmints. You're one of the lowest members of the food chain, and you'll probably be replaced by the rat.
Star Wars technology in service of a dancing gopher. Hollywood at its absolute finest. Number 6, a hurricane almost shut the whole thing down. Caddyshack was filmed in the autumn of 1979 in Davie, Florida, but director Harold Ramis wanted it to feel like sleepy Midwest America. Then, Hurricane David appeared like an uninvited guest with no respect for tea times. Filming had barely started when the storm arrived and stopped everything. Cameras were off, schedules destroyed, and production was stalled before Bill Murray could even threaten a gopher. The delay stretched the shoot to about 11 chaotic weeks, which, given all the rewrites in general, is anyone steering this ship? The energy on set almost felt organized. But then there was the palm tree problem. Ramos desperately needed Bushwood to feel Midwestern. Rolling Hills was chosen partly because it had big oak trees and fewer palms than most Florida courses. Fewer, but not none.
Now, how do you think, son? I keep playing. I don't think the heavy stuff's gonna come down for quite a while.
Whenever a palm tree appeared in the background of a shot, the crew had to act fast. Tighter framing, different angles, physically hiding the tropical evidence like they were covering up a crime scene. Nothing ruins the illusion of suburban Illinois wealth faster than a tree that obviously lives in South Florida. Bushwood Country Club feels like a made-up piece of Midwest old money. Behind the cameras, though, it was Florida humidity, hurricane delays, and a crew working extra hard to make sure America never saw a single coconut. Number 7. The Murray brothers turned Caddyshack into a restaurant. Most movies might get a sequel or maybe a t-shirt line, but Caddyshack got a full-service restaurant.
Murray and his 5 brothers all worked as caddies growing up in Wilmette.
Instructional was a great education to learn how to serve people.
In 2001, the Murray brothers opened Murray Bros Caddyshack in St. Augustine, Florida, right at the World Golf Village, home of the World Golf Hall of Fame. And it wasn't just a solo Bill Murray vanity project. All 6 Murray brothers were involved. Bill, Brian, Andy, Joe, Ed, and John. The same kids who spent their teenage summers carrying golf bags at a private club in Winnetka, Illinois, built a restaurant themed around the movie that their childhood inspired. Chef Andy Murray created the menu and runs the kitchen. It's America's comfort food with a little Chicago edge.
It makes people laugh and it makes people smile. And if that's all we can do, that's great.
The walls are covered in Caddyshack memorabilia, and the whole vibe is meant to feel like an extension of the Murray family living room, which, knowing this family, probably means someone is telling a story that's 40% true but 100% entertaining. The place has become a must-visit spot for fans. The restaurant even outlasted its neighbor. When the World Golf Hall of Fame closed in 2023, people thought the shack would close too, but it didn't. The Murrays signed a new 10-year lease in 2024, and it's still open today.
A second location opened in Rosemont, Illinois in 2018, bringing the brothers back to their home turf, though that one has since closed, unfortunately. The original St. Augustine location, though, keeps serving. From caddying as kids in suburban Chicago to running a Caddyshack-themed restaurant for over 20 years, that's either the most satisfying full-circle moment in comedy history or maybe the biggest trick ever pulled on a country club.
Number 8. Bill Murray filmed most of his scenes in just 6 days. Carl Spackler, the gopher hunting philosopher on the fairway, was filmed in 6 days.
This is just a matter now of pumping about 15,000 gallons of water down there to teach you a little bit of a lesson. Is that it? I think it is.
That's less time than most people spend pretending to start a new diet. And it makes sense, too, because Murray was never supposed to matter. Carl was written as a small, mostly silent role, a background keeper in the style of Harpo Marx. Murray was hired for a brief appearance because he was busy with Saturday Night Live. The plan was simple: just show up, say very little, and then leave. But the second the cameras started rolling, Carl became a full-blown chaos machine. Murray brought a wild energy that the script never asked for, and the production couldn't control it. Every scene he touched came back bigger, stranger, and funnier than what was written, like the Dalai Lama story and the gopher revenge speeches.
And who do you think they give me? The Dalai Lama himself, the 12th son of the Lama.
The crazy mix of Zen philosophy and wild pest control energy, that's all Murray. The production team kept calling him back from New York for more scenes. There was more material, a role that was supposed to take only 6 days of shooting, but it ended up taking over part of the film's identity. Hey, quick pause. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the wildest golf movie ever made, hit that like button. It tells YouTube you want more stories about movies and shows that shouldn't have worked but became classics anyway. Drop a comment with your favorite Caddyshack quote. And if you say it's in the hole, just know you're in a very long line. All right, back to Bushwood before the judge calls security. Number 9. Caddyshack needed a famous face just to get made. Before Caddyshack could get those balls teed up, it had to survive the most dangerous hazard in Hollywood: studio approval. Orion Pictures liked the idea, Animal House on a golf course, and has a certain chaotic charm. But they had one condition: you had to attach a star who could sell tickets, or the movie would stay in the clubhouse. Orion had already passed on 2 of Harold Ramis's darker comedy pitches, and that's how Chase got signed to the project. Chevy had recently proven he could bring in audiences with foul play. Once his name was attached, the movie stopped being a risky experiment and started looking like something that might actually get a release date. Then came the role of Al Cervic, the loud, zero-respect wrecking ball of Bushwood. Don Rickles was reportedly considered for the part, and if you know Don Rickles, you know restraint was never part of the plan. But Ramis saw Dangerfield on The Tonight Show and became convinced that his rapid-fire insult energy belonged on the golf course. He gave Rodney the role, making it his first major feature film appearance. Dangerfield walked onto the set like most people walking into a country where they don't speak the language. He was a stage comic, not a film actor.
Hey, orange balls. I'll have a box of those. Give me a box of those naked lady tees, and give me 2 of those. Give me 6 of those. Oh, this is the worst looking hat I ever saw.
He reportedly didn't understand normal sit commands. He couldn't figure out why nobody laughed after his first few takes until someone explained that laughing during filming would ruin the sound. The man had spent decades reading rooms, and now suddenly the room was completely silent on purpose. It took some getting used to. I mean, he was getting no respect here. The studio demanded 1 big star to approve the movie, and they ended up with a cast full of stars who helped completely rewrite its DNA. Number 10. Bill Murray stole the Dalai Lama's speech. The Dalai Lama monologue was one of the rare parts that actually existed on paper before the actors were given free rein. But in the early script, it wasn't written for Carl Spackler. It belonged to a completely different character. In some versions, a teenage caddy. In others, a grounded old veteran type telling a sentimental story. Either way, it was meant to be serious. On the first day of filming, the original actor performed it, and it landed like my golf balls in a lake. Instead of being funny, it came across as earnest, kind of sad, like someone oversharing at a retirement banquet, instead of owning a golf course. Ramos realized the idea had potential. Caddying for the Dalai Lama in Tibet is naturally absurd. He just needed someone unhinged enough to deliver it, so he gave it to Murray. Murray kept the premise, destroyed the original tone, and rebuilt the whole thing in Carl Spackler's voice. A sentimental story became a delusional, wildly specific, and spiritually confusing fantasy told by a groundskeeper who may or may not understand geography. Total consciousness delivered with the deadpan sincerity of a man who truly believed the Dalai Lama had shorted him on a tip, and he came out ahead anyway.
Number 11. The actress who vanished after 2 hit comedies. Sarah Holcomb played Maggie O'Houlihan in Caddyshack. If her face looked familiar in 1980, it's because she had already appeared 2 years earlier.
Daddy, stop it. The judge will see you.
You going out with me tonight, Maggie?
Yeah, up to my room.
And National Lampoon's Animal House as Clarette the pastor. That's 2 major comedies before the age of 22. That's not a slow start. It's a career path most actors spend decades chasing. And then she was gone. Her entire film career lasted only 4 years. After Caddyshack, she disappeared from Hollywood completely. Behind the scenes, the story was more complicated. Animal House co-writer Chris Miller later said that Holcomb was much younger than the hard partying crowd around her, and the late 70s comedy scene wasn't known for looking after its youngest members. Reports suggested she struggled with serious substance abuse and personal challenges that grew as her short career went on. Instead of trying to fight her way back into the spotlight, Holcomb stepped away permanently. Over the decades, reports consistently describe her living a quiet life in Connecticut under another name, surrounded by family and friends who have worked hard to protect her privacy.
It's my problem. I can handle it, Daddy.
And as of the mid-2020s, she has been out of the public eye for more than 40 years. In an industry built on comebacks and reinventions, that kind of long-term silence is almost unheard of. Number 12. Critics hated it, and audiences never stopped quoting it. When Caddyshack premiered, critics treated it like a divot that someone forgot to fix. Reviewers called it sloppy, wandering, pleasantly formless, a kind of compliment that sounds like an insult wearing a blazer. The New York Times said it barely had any story. Variety complained about lowbrow gags. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars and called it shaky and unfocused. Like a series of sketches, it didn't quite fit together, which, given the last-minute gopher reshoots and the overall chaos of production, isn't entirely wrong. Critics weren't lining up to treat former Saturday Night Live chaos makers as serious filmmakers. If you came for sketch comedy, you were automatically suspect, guilty until proven Oscar-worthy. But audiences didn't care about structure. They cared about Bill Murray whispering about total consciousness, Rodney Dangerfield detonating one-liners like party favors with shrapnel, and Chevy Chase smiling like a man who has never once been told no and wouldn't hear it if you were. Then cable television and VHS got involved. Caddyshack became the kind of movie you didn't just watch once, you absorbed it through repetition until every line was permanently welded to your vocabulary. It turned into a rite of passage for golfers and comedy fans who couldn't tell the difference between the two. Years later, the American Film Institute ranked it number 92 on its list of the 100 funniest American movies. The exact chaos critics once dismissed became the reason it outlived every polished comedy released that same year. Number 13. The Baby Ruth gag came from a real prank. That famous pool scene, the screaming grown adult scrambling out of the water as if something with teeth had appeared, was inspired by actual teenage stupidity. Co-writer Brian Doyle-Murray reportedly pulled a similar prank. In the film, the Baby Ruth bar floats dramatically across the pool, bobbing along like the world's most misunderstood villain. But here's the problem. The real Baby Ruth sinks. It drops to the bottom like a chocolate brick, which meant Hollywood had to cheat. The production used a buoyant foam prop to get that perfect slow-motion glide across the surface. Then, right before Bill Murray scoops it up and takes a bite like a man who has never once cared what anyone thinks, they swapped in a real candy bar. That's the kind of dedication to a gross-out gag that separates professionals from amateurs. A teenage prank from an Illinois country club went through a prop department's foam engineering and Murray's complete lack of shame.
That became one of the most replayed moments in 80s comedy. Number 14. Ted Knight was the only professional on set. By the time Ted Knight signed on for Caddyshack, he was a sitcom veteran. Years on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, where scripts were tight and the biggest wild card was maybe someone slightly missing a cue, had trained him well. He showed up at Rolling Hills Golf Club in Florida with all his lines memorized, his professionalism fully ready, and absolutely no preparation for what he was about to walk into.
Finish! Sir, do you know what I just saw? No, sir. A gopher! Gopher! Where?
Younger cast and crew members were racing golf carts around the course at night. They were pulling pranks and treating call times like horoscopes, interesting to read, easy to ignore. Combine that with obvious drug and alcohol use all around, and Knight knew this wasn't going to be just another average day on the job. Then there was the comedy-style clash. Knight came from a very script-heavy background. Say the lines as written, hit your marks, respect the rhythm of the scene. The rest of the cast, though, worked more like a jazz band, loose, unpredictable, and barely playing the same song twice. For an actor built on discipline, it was like showing up to a chess tournament and finding out everyone else was playing dodgeball. But Knight stayed locked in. He delivered every line and committed fully. His performance as Judge Smales, pompous and permanently outraged.
Good. Good. Very good.
Perpetually one insult away from a heart attack, he became one of the film's most legendary anchors, the straightest man in a room full of wild cards, and the movie needed every ounce of it. Number 15. The script, it was more of a suggestion, and the cast rewrote the movie on camera. Here's the truth about Caddyshack. The movie you've been quoting for over 40 years was barely written. Yeah, the script existed, sure, 200 pages of it, but once the camera started rolling, Chase, Dangerfield, and Murray treated it less like a screenplay and more like a rough note left on a napkin. Let's start with Rodney Dangerfield, because his introduction to film is a comedy all by itself. The very first scene he shot was Al Cervik's entrance in the pro shop. Ramis called action, and nothing happened. Dangerfield just kind of stood there. Ramis tried again, still nothing. He walked over and explained the cue, and Dangerfield blinked. "You mean, do my bit?" Finally, Ramis said, "Okay, Rodney, now do your bit." And Dangerfield pounced into the room and nailed the take, including the legendary line about the hat deserving a free bowl of soup, completely off the cuff. From that moment on, Ramis never said action for a Dangerfield scene again. Once Rodney got rolling, there was no containing him. That dinner scene, where Cervik strolls past Judge Smales' guests and insults everyone at the table, that's all Dangerfield. "Oh, this is your wife, huh? Lovely lady. Hey, baby, you must have been something before electricity." That's not screenwriting. That's 40 years of stand-up muscle memory, aimed straight at a camera.
"Oh, this your wife? Oh, a lovely lady. Hey, baby, you're all right. You must have been something before electricity, huh?" Okay.
Murray was even worse, or better, depending on your perspective. The script literally had blank sections that just read, "Bill riffs here." The Cinderella story monologue? That script contained only 2 lines of stage direction. Carl cuts off the tops of flowers with a grass whip, and that's it. Ramos gave Murray one prompt. Imagine you're a kid announcing your own fantasy masters tournament. Murray picked up the whip, looked at the bed of real chrysanthemums, and started talking. Those were live flowers, too, no resets. Once those petals hit the ground, they were gone. The original take ran close to 30 minutes before being trimmed to the version now permanently lodged in pop culture. Chase ran the same playbook, but from a different angle. The massage scene between Ty and Lacey, that's completely off the page. Don't sell yourself short, Judge. You're a tremendous slouch. Yeah, that's Chase finding the exact right beat to turn a compliment into a takedown.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face.
The result was a mountain of footage. The first rough cut reportedly ran over 4 hours. That's not a comedy. That's like a hostage situation with a golf cart. The studio cut it down to 98 minutes, and the editing was brutal. Entire subplots were removed. Somewhere in a vault, there are hours of Caddyshack footage the public has never seen. 3 writers spent 3 months building a 200-page script. Then 3 comedians walked onto a Florida golf course and rewrote the movie in real time. The version that survived became one of the most quoted comedies in American history. Go figure. And there you have it, 15 weird and wild facts about Caddyshack. Which fact surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments and share it with a friend who still quotes Carl Spackler like it's their personality trait. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.